the whole trajectory on the opioid epidemic.
Oh my God, that
for example, I wonder if I could play a thing from that.
Do you have that clip?
Really hurt me. That hurt me. It was not good.
Yeah.
Let me. I think it's also instructive to get the words direct here.
Yes.
So let's listen to how he frames this. And I will say, I just want to be very clear about this too. What I'm about to play is the most definitive part about these themes and this part of the history that Curtis brings in. There is no further backup to any of the claims listed here, and this story basically finishes as just a complete dead end. Ultimately, by the end of the
he brings
film.
it in as a vibe and then just lets it hang there with all its stigma.
At the same time as large numbers of factories began to close across America, a new drug was created. It was made by a company that had been founded by Arthur Sackler. In the 1970s, Sackler had marketed the drug Valium to deal with the feelings of anxiety and loneliness in the suburbs. He had died in the 1980s, but in the mid-90s, his company released a new drug called OxyContin. It was a synthetic form of opium, and it was sold as a painkiller. But then, workers who were being laid off as the factories closed found that they got more benefits if they were disabled. So they went to their doctors and said they were injured. And the doctors gave them OxyContin.
Fuck you.
They got their benefits. But they also discovered that OxyContin made them feel safe, in a bubble, protected from the anxieties and fears of the new post-industrial world.
It's just unbelievable.
I mean,
it's just...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I joked
on
Twitter when he said this, is like, are we sure Adam Curtis didn't get money from pharmaceutical companies that claim that workers in the 1990s systematically faked injuries to get higher disability benefits and just use that OxyContin to feel safe and secure? Like I think people, when I posted on Twitter who hadn't watched it, thought this was just like, you know, a ridiculous exaggeration, but that's literally exactly what he says.
It's what he says. I mean, that argument is very consistent with that is like the Ron Johnson line about like the opioid epidemic. It is the victim blaming line. It is when you, I mean,
but not even.
It is very much like this.
Even the most right-wing reactionary claims about the opioid epidemic, you know, I've ever seen have never gone to that extreme. Because usually it's like people got it for a surgery or an injury, and then they kept on using it and got dependent, and then were seeking out drugs, or, you know, something to that effect. But he's saying specifically that, either to a person, vast majority, it's not clear, people are seeking out to use OxyContin specifically to defraud the federal government in getting disability benefits. That works.
Well, and to quell their sort of psychosocial fears about the globalization or something. Yeah. Not to go too hard on the opioids and Purdue Pharma thing, but bringing up Arthur Sackler, for example. So regardless of all the other, there's a lot of information here, but I just want to point out one really important thing, which is that Arthur Sackler is brought up 4 or 5 times. It's really not made explicit. 4 or 5 times before that, the whole disability thing that I played earlier. It's really never made explicit why he's being brought up, except for he is talked about as this marketer of Valium and stuff like that. And he's talked about as sort of the founder of Purdue Pharma. He was only really he had a financial stake, and he was a patriarchal figure within the Sackler family, but it was also a joint effort with Arthur's brothers, Mortimer and Raymond
also,
Sackler.
They didn't found it. They just bought the company in 1952. Right. It was founded in the 1890s.
But my point is, all of these people, Arthur, Raymond, and Mortimer, you want to Adam Curtis. You want a fucking Adam Curtis narrative right here? Arthur, Raymond, and Mortimer were all psychiatrists.
Yeah, thank you.
Arthur, Raymond, and Mortimer all were not just psychiatrists. Their like focus, their specialty was quote unquote biological psychiatry, which is essentially the exact form of psychiatry that was in the ascendance in the middle of the 20th century, that figures that Curtis himself has looked at, like R.D. Laing, as B mentioned, who Curtis discusses at length in The Trap, like who people like R.D. Laing and the rest of the anti-psychiatry movement who were mobilized against,
Right.
because people who as part of the biological psychiatry movement were doing things like making Thorazine, like the blanket treatment for a bunch of things, creating situations that have been called chemical incarceration, right? Creating the situation where like literally, I mean, if you want to talk about like taking a population and like doping them basically and giving them like palliatives or whatever, that's like literally what they were doing in the form of incarceration. Yeah. None of that is present.
No,
obviously.
And in The Trap, he makes the anti-psychiatry movement out to be a joke. He has very little respect for them. And I think, let me rant for a second. All right.
Hello, this is Daniel, Beatrice's screen reader program. Support us at patreon.com/deathpanelpod to hear the full episode and get access to patron-only content. With love, The Death Panel.